we're going to go ahead and get started. And on the back end, we can just welcome those who are joining in the chat. I'm going to go ahead and start us off. For those of you who don't know me, I think I know many of you on here, but my name is Sarah Boreen, and I am with Living Well at Texas A&M. We are the official employee wellness and engagement program for full-time staff and faculty. So for all of you, so excited that you're here with us. I'm joined by our fall intern, Caitlin Methvin, who is helping in the background, getting folks checked in and also entering names into our drawing that we'll have at the end for a Living Well branded journal. We are so excited to be partnering with Marnie Krajicek again. We did a series earlier this semester with Marnie, a yoga nidra series, which is has a lot of similarities to mindfulness meditation, but there are some differences, and she would be happy to answer any of those questions. So I'm going to go ahead and officially introduce Marnie and then hand it over to her. If any questions do come up, feel free to put them in the chat, and I'd be happy to help get those answered. So Marnie, as a married mom of 2 daughters and a Bryan College Station native, her husband, Jon, who's actually done some mindfulness meditation programming for us, is a retired professor from Texas A&M, and he's also a musician. You can see him at different local venues around town. Together, they love to travel and experience the arts. Marnie teaches stressed out adults and the children who love them how to focus and feel better with yoga, mindfulness, aromatherapy, and energy work. Marnie teaches in-person and virtual classes for schools, corporations, studios, as well as private sessions. You can learn more about her offerings at marniekrajicek.com, and I'll go ahead and put her website in the chat in case anybody is interested in checking that out. So without further ado, I'm going to hand it over to Marnie to lead us in this first of 4 sessions on mindfulness meditation. Just a friendly reminder, we will be meeting every Tuesday from now until December 1st, minus, Thursday, wrong day of the week, minus Thanksgiving Day. Same time, same place, same Zoom link at 11:45. So Marnie, I'm going to go ahead and have you take it away.
All right. Thank you so much, Sarah, and welcome everyone. I just want to honor you all for taking time out of your day. I know it's a busy time of year, and midday is sometimes, a time when you're like crunching to get work done. But the fact that you are taking this time to reset is really important. I want to thank Sarah for inviting me to be a part of this wonderful program. I do teach the Yoga Nidra on Tuesday nights when we have that series going. The way that this is different is that Yoga Nidra, we're really working on meditative and brain states to get us into a specific brain state right before we fall asleep, and then working in that space. With mindfulness meditation, the intention of this series is to give you the tools to protect yourself from stress, be more present, activate the relaxation response, and regulate your emotions with mindfulness meditation. So I always like to set the tone for our practice. Whatever will help you create a ritual around your practice can just make it feel more meaningful and more a part of a routine. Okay, so just like getting into bed, or when we wake up in the morning and we have our morning routine, all of that becomes habit and becomes ingrained, and kind of helps the neural pathways tell yourself, tell your brain and your nervous system, this is the time for this. So whether that is just finding a specific chair, or sometimes people use like a prayer shawl or a specific hoodie or something like that, that just tells the body, okay, here's the time. A glass of tea, turning down the lights, turning off your phone, closing the blinds and closing the door. So make sure that you are in a space to receive and be present. So what is the difference between mindfulness and meditation? They're used a lot of times to mean the same thing, and there's really nothing wrong with that, but there are some differences here. So mindfulness is more of a quality of mind or a mental state. It was popularized in the West by Jon Kabat-Zinn, and he defines it as the awareness that arises through paying attention on purpose in the present moment, non-judgmentally. Meditation is the practice that can help us be more mindful. And we don't have to do meditation to be mindful, but for the purpose of this series, we'll be doing both. So when we practice mindfulness, we're being aware of our current thoughts, feelings, and surroundings. We're accepting this awareness with openness and curiosity in a non-judgmental way. When we meditate, we learn to hone in our skills, right? So we're concentrating, we're focusing, we're bringing our attention to the present moment without judgment. So both of those are very similar, but meditation, just think of that as like the push-ups that you do at the gym, right? And then the way that you feel after is kind of the mindfulness. That's what you take out into the world, is that strength. With continued practice, we become less stressed, reactive, fearful, and anxious. This is a practice. It is not something that we just do once and it, suddenly transforms our life. It's like anything that we do. We put in the time now, and those benefits, we see those when things come up, when stressful situations come up. It builds in more resiliency and the ability to regulate our emotions and stress. So if you've ever tried to sit still and turn off your thoughts and meditate before and felt like you failed, you couldn't do it because you can't stop your thoughts, then you are in the right place. That's how we all are. Even very experienced meditators go through this. That is the human condition. And this is where the practice begins. In fact, the more you practice, the more you realize just how much your brain is in activity most of the time. But each time we catch ourselves drifting into thought and bringing ourselves back into the present moment, that is the goal right there. So that is that mindfulness muscle that we bring in, and it brings us back to the present. You're strengthening that muscle. It's like doing push-ups for the brain, and it creates new neural pathways, which help us respond differently in stressful situations. So we don't respond in our normal stressed out ways or triggered responses or conditioned responses, let's say from our childhood, the way that we were brought up, things that are patterns and behavior. We have an ability to choose a different way to respond. Each session that we practice here together will consist of a brief check-in, some breathing exercises, some very gentle kind of chair yoga, and then I'll guide you through some mindfulness practices, some meditation practices, and because I am at heart a teacher, I will always be giving you a little bit of background and philosophy, because our understanding of it helps build the framework and around it. So we kind of just touched on all the benefits. Pretty much, everything that is bothering you can be helped with mindfulness meditation, mindfulness and meditation, or mindfulness meditation together. And then we're going to start with checking in with 2 words that describe your current state. So, oh, good. Mona, I saw you're feeling more at peace already. It's like, oh, yes, this is what I need. I'm in the right place. And I don't have to be perfect at this. This is a practice, right? So Brene Brown first taught me this kind of checking in with 2 words that describe your current state. And that this is just a practice that helps us be more mindful of where we are. Because when we do meditation, sometimes those benefits, we don't see them right away. And so having awareness of where you are mentally, emotionally, and physically, where you feel that in your body, all of that is going to help you understand what shifts are happening when they come. And that's part of me and being a yoga teacher as well, is really helping people understand the mind-body connection and noticing what you're feeling, what you're experiencing, bringing awareness to that, identifying it. That's part of mindfulness. And then being able to see when that shifts and changes. So here are some examples. You can share in the chat if you want, or you can just jot it down mentally to yourself. But, when we share, we build community. So it's always helpful, I think, to kind of see where other people are and not feel so alone whenever we share how we're doing. So I will say that for me, I am feeling grateful to be a part of this. And let's see, a little bit vulnerable, because it's always, you always feel a little bit exposed when you're sharing something that you love. It's so good to see some of the comments coming in. Good. Joyful and connected, grateful, hopeful, but stressed. I understand. Yeah. Grateful and connected. So now that we're looking at these, I want you to go a little bit further. Where do you feel this in your body? So you may need to take a moment to just close your eyes and get quiet and notice where you feel these sensations in your body. It may not come up at first. For people who do mind-body practices, who are pretty in tune with what's going on, they may be able to identify it pretty quick. It is, again, another practice. It's something to bring awareness to and to notice so that you can be more mindful of where and how stress and emotions are affecting you. Because this is this is what we're doing here. Mindfulness and meditation isn't just to practice for no reason. We're really trying to regulate emotions and learn how to deal with whatever comes up and what is stressing us out and what's overwhelming us. So having that understanding is part of it. Lee, yeah. Jaw, neck, and stomach. So a lot of people, some people even have like chronic kind of stomach issues or whatever, and they know that that's like that nervous stomach, or the pressure you feel and on the shoulders, or the jaw that's tight, or kind of that buzzy, spacey feeling when you feel disconnected. So just check in with that and notice where you're feeling it. Notice what comes up. Good. You guys are doing great. Excellent. The easiest way to understand this mind-body connection is think about a time when you're nervous and you feel kind of jumpy and like butterflies in your stomach, maybe a little constricted. We all know that we get flushed, or if we're embarrassed, we get like flushed. That's a mind-body, experience. And we all can recognize those pretty easy. It's some of the more subtle ones that maybe we don't even realize are connected that are important here. Okay. Thank y'all for sharing so much. Jumpy. Yeah, that goes with stress and overwhelm. Jumpy definitely goes with that. Okay, so now that we're kind of aware of where we are, let's start with some belly breathing. So this is a practice that just is going to help us get from up here in our mind into our body. It's the quickest way to do that. It also resets the vagus nerve, or stimulates the vagus nerve, which tells the body it's okay to go into that rest and digest in the parasympathetic system. So we get out of the fight or flight, or into that activated, triggered, stressed out state into the resting state. So you want to sit up nice and tall so that you are not cutting off the airflow here. So that's why our spine is always sitting up straight. I tell kids, imagine if you put a pencil right on your tummy and then you hunch over, then you're going to poke yourself, right? So you want to sit up nice and tall so that you wouldn't poke yourself with a pencil. Shoulders are down, away from the ears. Put one hand on your belly. You can also put one hand on your heart. And then feet, if you're sitting down, crisscross, or if you're sitting down on the floor. If you're sitting in a chair, feet flat on the floor so that you feel grounded and connected. And then we're just going to soften our belly. As you breathe in, you fill up your belly with air, just like you're blowing air into a balloon. And as you breathe out, you empty all of that air out. And the next time you inhale, when you get to the top of the inhale, I want you to sip in a little bit of extra air. And then when you exhale, do the same. Push out just a little bit of extra air. Then we're going to set an intention for this practice that we are just present for ourselves and whatever shows up. And as you're continuing your belly breath, we're going to stretch the body in just a minute, but I want to talk to you a little bit about moving the body, stretching, yoga, whatever kind of practice you do that helps you eliminate tension from the body. It can be very challenging to meditate, to get quiet and still when we aren't present, when we are triggered, when our body is in pain. So this is why yogis first started the physical practices of stretching and holding poses in the first place. They realized when they were sitting in meditation postures that they were in pain, that they could settle the mind, but then it would get attached to whatever pain came up in the body and whatever tension was happening. So they started doing this breath work, and then they started working with stretching, and they did that by watching what was going on in nature and watching how the animals moved and watching the trees and the flowers and the plants and all of nature. And then they started doing those same kind of movements to help themselves get in a better place to sit and meditate and connect with something greater than themselves. So when we do that, we are allowing ourselves to shift energy in the body, release the tension, so that when we're sitting and trying to anchor the mind to something, it's not just anchoring to pain and discomfort. So let's start with some very gentle stretches. We're just going to roll the head around, not really rolling the neck. It's more the head. So imagine you are drawing a circle with your nose. And this is really just prep work, getting ourselves in the space to be more successful with our meditation practice. And then switch directions. And if you notice you're sticky somewhere, you feel that tension, definitely give yourself a little massage. Hold it, breathe into it, stretch it a little bit further. Be intuitive about what your body needs. Good. Then we're going to shrug our shoulders up to our ears. Deep breath, and then drop them down. Inhale, shrug them up. Exhale, drop down. Inhale up. Exhale, drop down. And both hands in front of you, clasp the hands together. Inhale the arms above your head. So if this is hard for you because your shoulders are tight, you can always come to right here. We're just opening up the chest. Soften the belly. You'll notice the belly wants to constrict and hold on there. Just let it release. And extend up a little bit further. So we're going to drop the shoulders away from the ears, but extend up through the fingertips. And if you're here, we're just allowing the arms to open up a little bit more. Soften the belly. Hands back to center, arms up. And then we're going to twist to one side. Doesn't matter which side you go to. If you notice that that is pretty painful and uneasy and tight, I just want you to shift the opposite knee forward a little bit to allow yourself a little bit more space. Look over the shoulder, soften the belly and breathe. And into the other side, arms up, into the other side. Again, if you feel some tightness there, allow your opposite knee to come forward just a little so that you can turn a little bit more, shoulders away from the ears. And then back to center. We're going to spread the knees wide and then just shift forward and let your head hang down between your knees. So you should feel a good stretch all along the back body, lower back, mid back, even upper back. Drop your chin to your chest. Getting some fresh blood and oxygen to the brain. And then back up. We're going to cross our left ankle over our right knee. This is called a figure 4 stretch. Flexing the top foot and then hinge forward over the leg that is bent. So I've got my left foot on top of my right knee. You should feel this in the hip, maybe in the buttock a little bit. Piriformis. And then switch sides. So opposite foot over the knee, hinging forward. You may notice one side is a little bit more tense or tight than the other. And that is just usually, it could be because of an injury, but it's also holding patterns, the way that we move through the world, habits we get into as far as the way we sit, the way we hold a baby, the way we do dishes. All of those things create tension in the body. And then the last thing that we're going to do is bring left leg out, point and flex the foot a couple of times. So when you do this, it is called a lymphatic pump. So you have lymph nodes all along the ankles, and you're just flushing those out. And then roll the ankles around, or roll the foot around. And then the other leg, extend your leg out, point and flex your foot so that it looks like this. Point, flex, point, flex. Always with the breath, back to the breath, and then roll your ankles around. All right, if there's any other stretch that you feel like you need to do that now. And let's talk about posture before we start our meditation practice. Your back is straight like an arrow, legs crossed. If you're sitting on the floor, if you are sitting in a chair, you want your feet on the floor, firmly on the ground. Shoulders are open and relaxed, so we don't want them up here. Chin is tucked in slightly, so you're not jutting out this way and you're not coming in completely. It's just a gentle tuck. It just releases the back of the neck a little bit. Eyes can be closed if you feel comfortable with that, or just gazing in front of you on the ground. So you can kind of pick a spot and just soften your eyes a little bit. And then your tongue is held against the upper palate. This is the natural place for your tongue to be. It's not pressed up there like pushing into your upper palate. When we do that, that's usually a stress response. This is just kind of held there, resting, very subtle. Lips slightly apart, teeth unclenched. Then your palms can be facing up on your knees or facing down. If you feel like you need to be more energized, palms are facing up. If you feel like you need to be more calmed or grounded, facing down. Gyan mudra is thumb to pointer finger. And so you can add in the mudra. That just means hand position. It corresponds with different points in the body. So find what feels good. And you want to embody the flow and the breath and easiness of a river with the stability, strength, and groundedness of a mountain. So find your posture. And as we go into the practice of mindful breathing, the foundational element that I'm going to talk about this week is non-judgment, non-judging. Let's say you're watching your breathing, and at a certain point, you find your mind saying something like, this is boring, this isn't working, I can't do this. These are all judgments, and they come up in your mind, and it's very important to recognize them just as they are, as judgmental thinking. And remind yourself that the practice involves suspending judgment, just watching whatever comes up, including your own judging thoughts, without getting carried away by them. and then proceed with your breathing. So as they come up, awareness, and continue breathing. So let us begin we're going to do a mindful breathing practice. Start by taking 3 slow, deep belly breaths to inject both energy and relaxation into our practice. Allow yourself to breathe normally and naturally without forcing anything. Bring a gentle attention to your breath. Just notice where the breath enters the body or where you feel the breath in the body. Sometimes we feel it in our nostrils, sometimes in our belly, in our chest, or the entire body. Become aware of the in-breath, the out-breath, and become aware of the space between the breath. Now visualize the mind being a butterfly on a flower petal. The breath is the petal that gently moves with the breeze. If at any time you feel distracted by sensation, thought, or sound, just acknowledge it, experience it, very gently let it go. And then bring your attention back to the breathing. We'll continue our mindful breathing for a few more minutes. Now gently open your eyes. Move your body a little. Just bring awareness to how you feel just doing the mindful breathing. Such a simple practice that can be very effective for bringing the body into regulation, centering the mind, bringing perspective to things that may feel big. So that was our mindful breathing, and you can practice mindful breathing anywhere, anytime, just by as you're sitting in a meeting or at a stoplight or in a line somewhere, bringing your attention to your breath, noticing it as it moves in and out of the body, and just keeping that anchor on the breath. And that's it. That's just mindful breathing. Now we're going to do a practice, a meditation practice. So think of this as like circuit training for the mind. This is known as open and focused meditation. There are two complementary qualities of attention. There's the focused attention and the open. And it's good to be strong in both of these, just like an athlete strives to be strong in both strength and stamina. So we'll begin by finding our meditation posture. You want to feel relaxed, but also alert. We'll rest the mind on the breath. Let your attention be stable like a rock, undisturbed by distraction. If the mind does get distracted, gently but firmly bring the mind back to the breath. Your complete and total focus will be on the breath for the next 2 minutes. Now shift your awareness into open attention. Bring your attention to whatever you experience and whatever comes to mind. Let this attention be flexible, like grass moving in the wind. In this mind, there's no such thing as a distraction. Every object you experience is an object of meditation. Everything is fair game. Allow your attention to be completely open for the next 2 minutes. Now we're going to shift back to the focused attention once more. Focus all the attention on the breath for 1 minute. And let's shift back to open attention where everything is fair game. And now for the next 2 minutes, we're just going to rest the mind. Just sit in relaxed awareness. Let all practice go. We're not focused on anything. Just let your mind do whatever it feels like doing. Just be. And bring your awareness back to your breathing. Did anyone notice that whenever I gave you permission to just allow your mind to do whatever it wanted to do, that is when it became the most focused? That's usually what happens for me as I'm doing all of the practices. Yeah. And then as soon as I hear, okay, let your mind do whatever it wants, then it's like, whoosh, and it just locks in. Yeah, good. Okay, so that is a wonderful thing to allow yourself, to give yourself some parameters, the back and forth, focused, and then open, and then just be, and then see what happens, allowing yourself to get there. Mona, I saw that people were interrupting you, but you were still able to maintain your center and your balance. That's awesome. And Courtney does those seated stretches in between office meetings. I'm telling you, I don't know how anyone can sit in an office chair all day long without doing some stretches. So I always like to incorporate those. It's really helpful. Okay, so let's check in again. Let's see, where are we now that we've practiced? You've done almost 20 minutes of mindfulness and meditation practices. Some, another 10 minutes of stretching and breathing. How are you feeling now that you've allowed yourself to reset like this? And where are you with your emotional or mental state, where you're feeling it in your body? You can do another check-in with that if you'd like. Peaceful and calm. Good. I usually find that feeling less tense. So what this usually does for me is it allows me to bring perspective and space to whatever's going on. So, sometimes when we get really caught up in the stress of everyday life, we feel like we have to do something, that there's action that needs to be taken. We have to really, get going. And this practice, meditation, allows us to just give space to that and some perspective of what really needs to happen and what is most important. Yeah, I'm glad you're ready to keep going. Helps you start over and get organized. Absolutely. I always find that if I will start off with my morning routine and doing my meditation practice, the rest of the day goes so much more smoothly because I've set myself up and set the tone for the day than whenever I just hit the ground running. Relaxed and sleepy. Yeah, sometimes definitely when we get into that downshifted state, it can almost make us feel a little bit sleepy. Drink some water, go for a walk real quick, get outside. That will help kind of bring you back into a more alert state. So reminders here are just to practice. The more that you practice, the more regularly you will be able to achieve calm in all these situations. So it's a muscle, right? It's a mindfulness muscle. And so next time when stress hits, you have some protection around you. You have your brain state is used to doing this practice, and it will automatically go into that practice. So you don't have to force it. It's not something that you go, oh, I must meditate now because I'm stressed. It's something that you become less stressed because you meditate, if that makes sense. So any habit we do, making it part of your daily routine is important. You have to plan for it and put it in your schedule, set the tone, and keep it simple. Don't think that you have to become a Jedi master overnight. Some of the places that I like to, some of the resources, Jon Kabat-Zinn, anything on his website, YouTube. Rick Hansen is another one that I didn't put on here. Jack Kornfield. I love the Calm app. It's my number one go-to. Headspace and 10% Happier. Those are both great resources as well. And then, of course, yoga and meditation classes. So you can do those online. You can do those in person, but having a set practice in a community around that can always be beneficial. And yes,